All right, welcome back. Ready to go?
Ready.
Questions from the break. Everybody good? Did y'all get a chance to look at the brochures? You can take them back to your seat if you guys want to read through them. Just make sure I get them back because I bought them. We did have some good questions at the break. What if you actually want copies of the physical brochures? You can procure them from either the ncrec.gov website and they will mail them to you. Like I said, they're usually pennies a piece, but you can also get them from the Realtor Association, which is right around the corner from here, has some in stock. So if you want to pick those up, you can stop there and pick them up. So tell them I sent you, and they will know who I am. And
Just say around the corner. Where around the corner exactly?
Literally around the corner. Turn out of this parking lot left on Charlois, and where Executive Park intersects Charlois Boulevard. It is right there on the corner. Winston-Salem Association of Realtors. And I say Charlois. It could be Charlois. It could be Charlois. We don't know. We don't really know. It kind of depends on who it's
That is exactly the look you were doing.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, it could be Charlois, Charlois. I don't know.
Charlois?
Kind of guess and check. It's kind of like Buena Vista.
Yeah, I die a little every time I hear that.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. It rolls right off the tongue. Yeah. Merck, we speak of Merck. Yeah, it's so funny. So, yeah, I don't understand that because anyway, that doesn't make sense. But that's where it's at. If you want to stop by the Realtor Association, you can get some stuff there. Otherwise, obviously, the links to the PDF versions are online.
Cool.
All right, well, let's rock and roll. Ready to rock and roll? Who likes to rock and roll? I like rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Woo! All right, cool. So measuring square feet. So this is a challenge that you will run into, and this is actually probably one of the most nerve-wracking things that I run into with new brokers that really makes them nervous. And I'm glad. That should make you nervous, because one thing I will tell you right now should make you a little bit nervous. You have 5% that you can be off. That's it.
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot. Not a lot of square footage that you can be off. So on 1,000 square feet, how much can I miss?
Not much.
5%. 50 feet. That's it. That's it.
What'd you say?
50 feet. That's all you can be off.
Square feet.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not. You're not missing much. You can't miss much.
Maybe a half bath.
Yeah, maybe a half bath, the equivalent of a large walk-in closet. So we have to be really accurate when we're measuring, and so that's why we have the guidelines that we're going to reference, and we're going to talk about a few of those. Like I said, there are example floor plans in that Oregon Real Estate brochure, or the measuring square footage. Use those. They've given you some information. You have to fill it in. It's a very good tool. If you are not working those problems, you're missing the boat, because it will really help you understand the concept of measuring square footage. So can't you just use those tax cards? Why do we have to measure it?
It might not be accurate.
Have you ever seen a tax card that's right about much of anything? So again, tax cards aren't good for value. They're not good for square footage either. So again, we don't use them to establish price or profit. I have to be careful because they don't like me saying value. Appraisers establish value. Brokers establish probable sales price. We'll get more into that. We sometimes interchange those, but I want to make sure you guys are different or know the difference. So we don't use the tax card for probable sales price, nor is it going to be typically accurate for square footage. So how do I identify these potential issues when I go on these square footage appointments? Well, you need to be on the lookout for some things. And in order to be on the lookout for things of what you can count and what you can't count, you gotta know the rules. So let's look at them. In order to be counted as finished square footage in your measurements, it needs to be heated, finished, directly accessible. Heated, finished, directly accessible. By the way, does it say air conditioned? Heated, finished, directly accessible. So heated should make pretty logical sense. It has a heat source. And when I say heat, it is a permanent heat source, not a little plug-in heater that you put under your desk. It is a permanent, built-in, attached fixture type of heat source. Could be baseboard electric heat, could be a wall monitor heat, it could be central heat and air with ducts, it could be any number of things, but it has to be a permanent heat source. So heated part, box check. Finished, what does it mean to be finished?
Drywall.
It's not gutted.
Yeah, it's dry. If it's drywalled, it's painted. Typically, cinder block is not going to be finished. Bare concrete is not finished, so
Or
we're
painted
looking
over the center
for,
block.
say again?
Or painted over the center block.
Painted over center block, typically not gonna count. Not
What if
gonna
it's
count.
half finished?
So great question. If it's half finished, and so we'll talk about that in the next portion. But if it actually has to be finished, and the reason I say that is it has to be in a condition that you would live in it. If it is in any way, shape, or form not there yet, it doesn't count, even if it's mostly there. Yeah,
Has to be permitted. I mean, like everything else.
it should be permitted. Yes, we're gonna talk about that too.
I wanna ask one more question.
Yeah.
Okay, like in these New York apartments and condos and everything, you see, a lot of times you see brick walls.
Yeah. And so, and I don't want to get us into the weeds with that, but
And
you're
people
right.
pay extra for that.
Yeah, it's true. And so some of that is an actual decoration type finish. Some of it is like if you go to a downtown loft right now, you've got the old brick mortar walls and single pane glass windows, which I don't understand. But those are acceptable and people will pay a premium for them because it's character. If it is with the intention of it being designed that way, it's a little bit different. You actually can even use stained concrete. So you have these concrete floors and they can be beautiful. So even though it is concrete, if it is kind of finished that way, it can be counted. So sometimes you have to do your judgment a little bit. Like he said, if it's a block concrete basement, not finished.
Yeah, I get
If it is part of, and you'll see it in kitchens too, like where they'll have kind of a brick accent wall or a pallet wall or something like that, that would still be considered finished. Now, directly accessible is the part that trips people up most of the time. Directly accessible means I do not have to go through an unfinished area to get to a finished area. I do not have to leave my unfinished area to continue getting to this area. I'm just trying to determine whether it would count. So if I have to go, for example, from the finished kitchen out a door into the unfinished garage to go to the door that goes to the finished room above the garage, I cannot count the finished space above the garage. Even though it's everything else, it was not directly accessible without having to go through an unfinished space before I got there. I can, and I should,
Disclose.
report that that space exists. There is 500 square feet above the garage, finished, just not included in my heated square footage because it wasn't directly accessible. Yeah.
What if it was like a mother-in-law suite?
If it is not directly accessible,
Still doesn't count.
still doesn't count. And you'll see that because actually, believe it or not, there's a little bit of have been coined granny pods, where they're like the tiny houses, right? And
Yeah.
Amazon just sold out of them. They had 500-600 square foot prefab tiny houses. You throw it in the backyard and you can plumb it. And it was like $16,000. Amazon sold the crap out of them. They're all out.
I like granny pods.
Well, and the premise, and I say that, and the reason that is the case is because if any of you have ever had to do any kind of facility, a place to care for folks, it is expensive. Yeah,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's a very expensive business. So
Can be that every 2 months.
I can pay $20,000 and put you a suite in my backyard and have you here with me, and I don't have to pay $20,000 a month to have you in that kind of
Yeah,
facility.
yeah.
And actually, the United States is kind of weird. We're the only place that does that, by the way. Every other part of the world, like, what's a home?
What's
when,
that?
when they get old, you come home and you live with me. Why do people put you somewhere else? But we made a very big industry out of that. And now we're like, wait a minute, maybe we could use our money different. So a lot of folks are doing that and making additional spaces, making in-law suites, making any kind of in-suite for folks to stay, Airbnb. So a lot of those things are popping up. If it meets the requirements, cool. If it doesn't, we can report it as there. It just can't be in our square footage. So, and that's an important conversation because if I do have, and I have had, a client who has finished a sunroom right there, but I have to walk through an unfinished corridor to get there. Like, can we put some heat right here? Give me one of them electric baseboard heat things. Finish this. Because if I can get from here to there, now I have 500 square feet more that I can put and help you get, and it's an inexpensive cost to get there. Now I'm not going to be like, hey, let's build a wing to get there. That's probably not going to be a return on investment. But we're going to have some conversations to see, hey, can I fix that? Yes, sir.
Just because you can't put it in the square footage, can you still put it in like the value of the overall home? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to account for it being there and saying it's there. And when I alluded to it earlier, that we sometimes have to look at it like appraisers. An appraiser, a lot of times, will look at homes on a price per square foot. So it's $100 a square foot based on the finished square foot. they're not gonna be able to include the 500 square feet if it's not heated, finished, directly accessible. So could that impact the value? If I've got 500 square feet, they're just gonna have to give an adjustment to, but they can't really count it as a part of the square footage, and it does. Also subterranean, we'll talk about that. If you were in a basement,
Like below grade.
below grade,
If we're gonna talk about that.
yeah, below grade is a different bag.
But if the appraiser doesn't include it, then the bank isn't gonna provide a loan for it, right?
So giving you a case in point, if we had the finished, the garage situation, we got 500 square feet above the garage, and it's a 2,000 square foot rest of the home, it's a 2,500 square foot home technically. But because I can't go through the garage, it will be evaluated by an appraiser as a 2,000 square foot home.
Right.
With an adjustment from.
And they will likely give an adjustment for finished space above the garage, but it will not, if they're giving this $100 a square foot, they can't give that $100 a square foot.
Okay, but when you say an adjustment, what'd you call it?
It's an adjustment, meaning the appraiser goes, looks about like this was $3,000.
Okay, so they'll give you a value of, say, $3,000, so when somebody goes to get a loan for their house, can they get it for, the house, the regular, what was it, 2,000 square feet?
Only what the appraiser gives,
For the house.
whole property,
Yeah.
the whole property.
No.
The appraiser doesn't look at just the value of the house, he looks at the value of the whole property, all the
Okay,
improvements.
okay, so he
The
would.
shed, the driveway, the lot, the land, they take it all into account.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It still becomes part of the overall value the bank will consider, but it's not calculated in square footage.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what he just said,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they look at the whole property, and they may even make an adjustment. Hey, there's a barn out back. It doesn't get a price per square foot. We're gonna give you $1,000 for the shed. And so those kind of adjustments are made, but then ultimately all of it's added up for the appraiser to establish what's the property
Okay.
worth.
Yeah, and the
That's
same way
right.
like a swimming
Point.
pool would be an adjustment.
Yeah, they don't really. Swimming pools are funny because in our world, I always tell folks, I like a swimming pool. How many of you hate a swimming pool? Anybody in here tonight like I ain't gonna do it?
Maintenance.
Don't wanna
At least
maintain
3 or
it.
4 of you, right?
Yeah.
And usually it's about half. Half of you are like, yes, I love a swimming pool. Half of you are like, no, I'm not cleaning it. So it usually has a net neutral effect on the value. It never really increases. It's like I just kind of don't account because half the people are gonna love it, half the people are gonna hate it. But they will, especially if it's a lot of landscape and hardscape, they might get some money there. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
How much do you think a pool adds value to the house? Because my mom's house, we have like an in-ground pool and it's pretty big, but like she let it just go to crap pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Not
I
much.
tell her she needs to fix it if she ever wants to sell it, but I'm like, how much would it add? Like you should probably get it fixed, right?
Yeah, I mean the thing with a pool is if I want a pool, I am seeking homes with a pool.
Yeah.
Does it mean I'm going to pay you more for it? Probably not. So it doesn't really do a whole lot for the value. It does do much. The people that want it will want it, and the people that don't just
Yeah.
won't.
Although an unmaintained pool would definitely be a drag on the
Yes. Yeah, if it is
Yeah.
not.
Nobody
yeah.
wants to unmaintained.
Yeah, nobody wants an unmaintained. That's the whole drawback to a pool in general. Yeah. And I had a guy who, they had a really bad pool. The liner was all gone. They didn't do anything with it. Had the concrete apron. They just hauled dirt. And now it's
I
a
was
nice
gonna say,
little
they
garden.
fill it, yeah.
Now it's a
Yeah.
concrete circle with a garden in the middle.
Now you're disclosing underground pools and tanks.
Yeah, that's true. Disclosure.
It doesn't add value.
What's that?
I was gonna say, I'd love to find one that had a broken pool in it. That would be awesome for me, but
To fix it and
Yeah,
restore it.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can find something distressed, you get it for
Yeah.
less price and you can improve it.
yeah.
Most of the time,
It
people
doesn't
don't
add
mind.
value to the property, but it'll take away. If they've got a broken pool,
Yeah.
I can beat them on the price,
Yeah.
where I wouldn't have been able to beat them more on the price of the house, so that works out well for me on the start.
Yeah, I love foreclosures because when they have a pool, they have to like build a deck over the pool because it's a fall hazard. So it's interesting. You never know what you're gonna see. But yeah, and it's easier to get them because people look at a pool and like, ooh, that's gonna be $20,000 to fix it, and maybe not, but it's also liability. That's an insurance conversation which we'll have later because if you have pools and hot tubs, you also have to have special conversations with your insurance agent about
Yeah,
that.
attractive nuisances.
Whether you have a fence around it and all that good stuff. So, questions on heated, finished, directly accessible?
Nope.
Cool. All right, so use the outside measurements whenever possible. When we measure a home, we will go, and I can say home because remember we're talking about residential property. We will go to the outside. So if we're looking at a brick rancher, I go to one corner, put the corner of the tape, I walk to the other corner. Length times width gives me my square footage. The end. Unless I have to take things out. So if it has a garage or a carport or a porch that's not finished, right? Y'all follow? feel like I might have lost you on that one.
Works if it's a rectangle.
Yes, absolutely. I'm starting simple. It gets worse. So if you have the classic brick rancher rectangle, it's 50 by 100 feet, right? Length times width gives us our square footage. Everybody follow that? Now, if it has a carport, now I have to measure the carport and say it's a 10 by 20. I have to take out the carport. And then this, what is left, is my finished square footage.
So and when you do that carport, and it was talking about if you go interior, you have to add 6 inches in?
Not with this case.
No.
So yes,
Yeah.
where you're going is correct. With this case, it's not. Because I'm assuming this is a ground level brick rancher. I can walk and put a tape measure here. I'm outside. I can walk and put a tape measure here. I'm still outside. Where we do the 6 inches is when we cannot go outside. So if this is the second story, let's get rid of the carport. That'd be weird. If this is the second story of a brick rancher or any kind of house, I can't go outside unless I'm really tall. I'm not that tall. I can't measure the length and width of a second story. So on the inside, I would measure from here to here, and then I would add 6 inches here, and I would add 6 inches here, and that would give me my length. And then same way this way, 6 inches here, 6 inches here, and that would give me my width.
So you couldn't if they were the same size, I mean,
Now, if they're the
First-
same size and
first-
there's no variation,
Yeah.
I can just probably
Double
double
it.
it. However, and that was actually interesting you said that, because I had an agent come to me today. He's like, I had an aha moment. It's like, It's like I was measuring a house today, and I was like, I'm writing it all down, doing a good job, and then I realized the second story had more square footage than the basement, than the main level. I was like, that's not right. And then he went back and looked. The first story had a porch. The second story came across the porch. So the upper level did actually have more square footage than the main because it was above the porch. So otherwise, you're right, it would have been, ideally whatever's on the bottom would be on the upper. So that's why we would still measure and you always want to measure just to be sure. I'll get you, and you, yes.
I've run into it a couple times, especially in older houses where the front porch is actually covering part of the basement. And sometimes you see, is that the same rule you would apply there?
If it's finished, yep. Yep, if it's finished, you count. Yes, sir.
Houses have walls and doorways and everything else, so you really can't do what you just did there. Are we getting into how you're gonna go room by room and do it, or what's
So
the?
to be 100% kind of transparent with where we're at, fundamentally in this class, I just want you to get the concepts. In post-licensing, we go out and we find the hardest house to measure on the planet.
Got it.
And we measure it for real. Because in real life, you're right, you don't get these great, easy, open measurements. You got bedrooms in here, right? There's a room here, and a room here, and a room
So
here.
you do have to go in and
all here.
measure them all and add them up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what does happen a lot of times though is maybe this is a bedroom, and this is a bedroom.
As long as you know they're equal walls, you can. count
Well,
them.
and there's doors in between them, right? So I can't actually measure between them that way. Usually it's this way that's a challenge.
Yeah.
So this might be the master suite here with a door over here. So then I would measure from here to here, and then find the line from here to here. And